Hello lovelies, how are you all doing today? I hope you're well. I'm a bit pink of cheek, aren't I? And it's not just a reflection from the sweater. Yeah, bit of a run around morning. I've been outside, cold, and then bombing up all my stairs. Oh, so I'm just having a sit quiet moment. I'm warm enough at the moment, I've got lots of layers on, but I will probably cool down, so I've got bits and pieces here to add. That's what life's like at the moment, isn't it? Just keep adding the layers, adding, and then at some point, oh no, it's too many layers, take one off. Whatever you have to do. Anyway, so I thought, yes, let's go into the basket of random chat again today. What's in the basket? Some bits I've forgotten, no doubt. So first of all, and this is going to be really random today, mind blown. Now, I know a lot of you are really huge fans of natural history. We're nuts for natural history. Oh, it could be a new strand, couldn't it? Nuts for natural history. Anyway, so the two things I'm about to tell you, you may well know already, but I didn't. So finding these two things out, which I will tell you in a second, they blew my mind in two ways. One, oh my goodness, that's crazy. But also, wow, how am I, half a century old and I didn't know these things? I mean, obviously, none of us know everything, of course not. And that's the joy of learning. It's the joy of books. It's the joy of documentaries on telly and all that kind of stuff that we learn. Well, hopefully do we learn every day? I feel like I learn something every day. Anyway, even so, it blew my mind that I didn't know these two things. So the first one, Portuguese man of war, which I always thought was a jellyfish. So we picture a Portuguese man of war, that sort of blob at the top, and then those really long tentacles which can sting and be really, really nasty. It's not a jellyfish, and I now can't remember off the top of my head. I made some quick notes, but I can't remember what the genus is. I don't know how it's categorised in terms of what animal it is. Anyway, Portuguese man of war. This is the mind-blowing bit. It isn't one animal. What? It's what's known as, hang on, I have to write it down, a colonial animal. As in, it's that one thing we see, the Portuguese man of war, is actually, it's a colony of, and animals isn't the strict term either, but let's think of it as animals. It's a colony of other animals that have come together to form this one thing that we know of as the Portuguese man of war. Just blew my mind. So it's made up. I think I saw it on Winter Watch because, yes, that's it, because we've had some really rough wind recently. So a load of them have been blown up onto the shore in Dorset, and that's where they're filming. They're filming from Arn, which is a stunning part of Purbeck. Beautiful nature reserve. Really, really special nature reserve because it's a mix of different types of habitat, but essentially it's low-lying heath. And it's the only place in the entire country where we find all our native reptiles. I think I was mentioning that when I was on Studland Beach, because Arn is kind of behind Studland Beach a ways. So that's where it's been coming from. Yes, so lots of these man of war have been getting washed up on the coast in Dorset, and ironically getting washed up in Man o' War Bay. There's a bay just along from where my grandparents lived called Man o' War Bay, as in man of war, is a ship. So anyway, back to this animal that's actually a colonial animal. It's a colony of animals. So the bit at the top, that kind of jelly bubble head thing that it has above the water and the wind blows it, and that's kind of partly how it moves. That's one creature. Underneath, there's a stomach type thing. That's another creature. And then next to that are the reproductive organs. That's another creature. And then the tentacles is another creature. What? Isn't that... I mean, it's truly bonkers. Now, this is a really fleeting moment, and, you know, I quickly scribbled some notes as I was watching, because I just couldn't get over it. Like I said, apart from the fact I couldn't get over the fact that how have I never known this before, because it's such an amazing fact. But yeah, I will definitely, when I have an opportunity, you know, I'll keep a lookout for books, documentaries, whatever. I definitely want to learn some more about that. I think that might even be, that's a good excuse. I'm going to have to find time. But that would be a really good excuse to go up to the Natural History Museum in London, up in the centre of town, and go and find out some more. Because, yeah, I can't get my head around it. I don't understand. This is why I'd like to find out more. I don't understand how it all works together in terms of, like, how we in humans or other mammals would think of a brain that's sending messages of what to do, whether we're moving our, you know, arms, whether we need to eat, whatever it is, what's operating, what operating system is it on? I can't get my head around it. So yeah, I'd love to learn some more about that. And you know what? I think, you know, I love learning. I'm just reading a book at the moment, which when I come to review it, there's a little passage in it about learning that I really want to share because it's so beautiful. And I've always been the kind of person, I love learning for the sake of learning. You know, curiosity is a wonderful part of being human, isn't it? And if you lose your curiosity, that's really sad. But curiosity is one of those things that keeps us alive, keeps us vibrant, keeps us engaged in the world, keeps us excited about tomorrow. So I have a lot of curiosity, especially about that. Oh, and just before I go on to this other mind-blowing animal fact, partly because of the book I'm reading and partly, you know, relating to this not jellyfish, I was thinking that at the moment, as you all know, literally every spare penny is going into savings for the house move. And yeah, you know what, it's boring. It's boring. I really want to there's a few things I would like, but what I'm really looking forward to is once I've moved, get myself settled in, do all the doing up that I need to do. I'm probably going to end up buying a doer-upper. So I'll need a budget for, you know, kitchen, plumbing, wiring, all that kind of stuff. But once that's all taken care of and I buy the bits and bobs or free cycle the bits and bobs of furniture I'm going to need. In other words, once I'm happy that the house is, pretty much sorted, I won't have to save so hard. So I can spend some money. I mean, I won't be spending a lot. I'm not a big spender anyway. But, you know, things like I can spend on the garden. Oh, I can't wait to have a garden. I can't wait. But I was thinking recently, I'd really like to buy myself a hand glass, a magnifying glass. Yeah, just so I can have a closer look at things. I've got a little patch of moss outside my window that's really, it's fascinating. It's beautiful. And I want to have a really, really close-up look. So I thought, once I've moved, got everything sorted, get myself a handheld magnifying glass. And I might even go one further and get something that I had in my childhood and I don't know what happened to it. I honestly don't know what happened to it, but I had for, I think, my 8th or 9th birthday when I was really little. By then my parents were divorced. We didn't ever really see Dad. But for my birthday, he bought me a microscope and a box of slides that already had something mounted on them. and then a whole couple of trays of empty slides and all the little glass bits, all the stuff you need to make your own slides, to do your own viewing. Oh, I loved that microscope. I loved it, loved it, loved it. I loved that microscope so much that every year when we would go to our grandparents down in Dorset for a few weeks, the microscope came with me. I loved it. So if we were off out, you know, just out feral all day, I'd pick up bits and pieces along my way, bring them home, and I could not wait to get those bits and pieces mounted on a slide so I could look at them. What a fantastic toy for a child. The best treasure ever, excuse me, I need a big gulp. Long one already. Yeah, my best ever treasure. I can't remember if I've told you this, or it might have been ages ago, but I had to actually tell a bit of a white lie about it when we got home. Home as in Greenacres, my grandparents' home. So my sis and I were out, we were playing up on the down and then going down towards the cliffs and the sea, and just lovely, just playing out, happy as Larry. And when you get to, there's a sort of farmer's field takes you to the top of the down, and then the down starts to dip away down to the cliffs and the sea. And as it dips away, so it's farmland on one side and there's their house, come up to the top of the down, and then once it dips over, it's sort of grazing for sheep. It's not farmable because it gets too steep, as in it's not arable, farmable. And there's all sorts of little thickets, nearly all of them with gorse in. But that slope down faces south, so it's a really sunny, warm slope. Really interesting for wildflowers, really a great place for butterfly spotting, great place for watching, is it red kites? Is it red kites we used to watch? Yeah, watching the red kites sort of just floating around on thermals, waiting to come down. Lovely, warm, sunny spot. And because it's warm, of course, reptiles, it's going to attract reptiles because they can warm up during the day. And there's lots of kind of bits of, you know, stone, proud of the ground, and then get under that to go into at night. So there we were, playing in one of these gorsey thickets. I mean, it's open. How do you just, yeah, it's a gorsey thicket. Heard a rustling quite nearby, and obviously intrepid little explorer me went to have a look and squealed with delight because there was an adder underneath this gorse bush. Now, we'd been taught, I mean, at this time I was either 9 or 10, so quite little. My sister would have been 12 or 13, and by then we'd been taught, way before then, we'd been taught how to identify an adder, because it is the only, it's a debate about this. I was going to say it's the only poisonous, venomous snake. Let's use the word venomous. It's the only venomous snake in the UK. It's not strictly true. All of them are venomous. It's just that, or all of them have the ability to envenomate us. It's just that it's not going to bother us. But an adder bite will bother you, especially a small child, tiny skinny child at that. Anyway, so I shouted out to my sister, "Sis, oh my God, it's an adder, and it's shedding." It was shedding its skin. It was wriggling out of its skin. So my sister, who was always a little bit more wary than me, but still wanted to, anyway, she came over, so she was standing behind me looking over my shoulder, and she's like, "We need to stand further away. Remember what Grandma told us, it's poisonous, da da da." I was like, it's amazing, shut up, just watch. Anyway, yeah, we stood and watched, and as soon as it had finished shedding, of course it slithered off to mind its own business somewhere else. It didn't want to hang around two noisy little kids. So of course, the minute it slithered off, I dived under the bush to grab the skin. beautiful, papery. I mean, it just, as a kid, I just couldn't get over the fact that just a few minutes before, this thing had had a snake inside it. And now it was just there. And of course, my imagination went into overdrive. Oh, what if I could shed my skin and there'd be a little papery see-through version of Vivi standing next to me? Anyway, what a great find, what a great find. So, of course, I wanted to gallop straight back home so I could get a little piece of it, pop it on a slide and look at it under my microscope. So on the way home, my sister was really worried about us getting into trouble. She's like, you shouldn't have gone near it. You know, we've always been told we're not to go near adders and you're really naughty. Oh, shut up, sis. Yeah, she was a goody two-shoes. Not always and not in later life, but anyway, yeah. So we came up with the story of we just happened upon it. So, yeah, both my grandparents are dead now, and there's a part of me thinks, should I have told them the truth? Once I was an adult, should I have told them the truth about it? I don't think they'd have minded too much. But anyway, yeah, I've never told my mum even the truth that actually it was a live adder and I was standing probably about 3 feet away from it, utterly engrossed in its behaviour. So, gosh, that's right. So I've got a hangnail. Yeah, that's a long roundabout way of saying that I had this microscope as a kid, loved it, don't know what happened to it, but I was thinking, you know what? I think I need to have another microscope in my life. So it's one of those things, isn't it? It's not a need. Of course it's not a need. But it's certainly, I will put it firmly in the wants pile. And I think, you know what? I work hard. I work hard for what I earn. I've been saving so hard. I really, denied myself so many things over the last few years that once I'm settled and once I know that I've taken care of the important stuff, like, if wiring needs to be sorted or plumbing or a new boiler, once all those big scary things have been dealt with, even down to, buying tins of paint for painting the place up, once all that's done, from that point onwards, I can think, right, you know what, if I get birthday money or Christmas money, I can save that, get myself a magnifying glass and get myself a microscope again. Can't wait. Anyway, yes, I'm definitely tripping backwards to childhood at the moment. Excuse me. I miss my mouth. I'm hot. I miss my mouth. It's still warm. I'm doing a honey lemon, couldn't think then, hot water, and it's got a soluble paracetamol in it because I still feel a bit, Anyway, did I get any on my top? No. Right. So the other mind-blowing animal thing, oh my God, it made me squeal. I mean, I wouldn't class myself as someone who's squeamish. No, I don't think I'm of myself as squeamish. I mean, there are some things which make me gag. Like, I don't know, gazpacho. There are some things which are ick, like really icky. But not, I don't, I can't think of many instances in life which would make me scream or squeal, apart from squealing in joy. Maybe if you're of a sensitive disposition, block your ears for a minute. I'll give you a thumbs up when you can listen again. You all know one of my favourite programmes is QI. I was watching some old episodes from the T series, the letter T series, and the particular episode title is T Animals, so T, the letter T, so animals that begin with T animals. And I love it when the whole episode is animals. Of course, I love animals. I mean, I love QI for all sorts, history, biology, whatever it is. They were talking briefly about it's just phenomenal. Animals and their sort of defence mechanisms. And I knew about, there's is it a salamander or a gecko lizard? One of those, that family, you know, this long 2 feet at either end reptile type. Anyway, I know there's one of those that it sort of shoots its ribs out of the side of itself as a defence mechanism. But this one actually made me scream out loud and turn away from the image. Like a, ah! I was like, oh my goodness, I can't believe what I've just seen. Oh my goodness, that is ridiculous. What are you doing? Moments. It's some kind of lizard, and I was in so much shock in the moment I didn't get its name. I'm just gonna have to watch that episode again if I can bear to. And its defense mechanism is it squirts, but it squirts out of its eyeball. I think there's something about eyes that, there's me, I've said I'm not squeamish. I think eyeballs are the only thing I am squeamish about. A friend of mine recently was having to have some surgery on the eyeball, and they have to stay awake while they're having it. And it's like, no, don't touch my eyeballs, I can't bear the thought of it. So yeah, this reptile, its defense mechanism, so it's got those, you know, those kind of coney, almost sort of like cone-shaped, not eyelids, but the sort of the skin around the eyes. It's almost like a cone with the eyes in the end, and that can kind of turn a bit if you see what I mean. I'm not making much sense for someone who loves natural history so much. Suddenly I'm a blithering wreck. So it squirts out from its eyeball. That's bad enough. But it's what it squirts that made me scream and turn away from the TV. So this is the bit, honestly, if you're of a sensitive disposition, please block your ears now, and I'll tell you when you can open. I'll block your ears and I will give you a thumbs up when I finish saying it. This reptile, as a defense mechanism, squirts blood out of its eyeball. What? And apparently it can squirt something like, I don't know, 5 or 10 feet. It said it proper ejects it. I mean, I've never seen anything like it. Extraordinary behaviour. And I can't help but think, well, hang on, how good is that as a defence? Because if you're losing some of your own blood in defending yourself, extraordinary. So you can listen again. I won't talk about the screaming stuff, but yeah, I highly recommend having a look at that episode. T, animals, the letter T, so the title, you'll see it as a capital T, animals, because it's just extraordinary, isn't it? And that's what I love about the natural world is I don't stop being amazed by it. There are times the natural world can make me utterly speechless. And you sort of, when you have those moments, you think, wow, I'm a piece of dust. I'm so insignificant in this big picture. When there are crazy colony animals and crazy blimmin' lizard, iguana, whatever it is, that defends itself in that way. I'm just a boring bit of dust floating around. Good grief. And now to change the subject, although it's still it's still childhood. And this came up because, it's partly because of what I'm going to show you, and a conversation actually a couple of months ago that I've had two little thoughts doing little twirlies in my mind for the last few weeks. I recently, you will have seen by now, I think you'll have seen by now, it was one of my Treats for a Tenner books. It's our lovely Stig of the Dump. Oh, it was just so sweet. Now, one of the attractions in the first place when I was 6, but now as an adult, is the Edward Ardazoni illustrations. I love his work. It's so clever. It's so often, I'm trying to say this. It's lots of straight lines. There aren't many curves, but he manages to create these wonderful, soft, vivid, gorgeous images. So if you look at here on Barney's face, if you look, your eyes, look, can you see? It's just it's just lots and lots of lines, bit of cross-hatching. Yeah, so I love Edward Ardazoni, and I've loved him for a long, long time. And I loved him before I knew who he was, really. But just as a child, really attracted to those illustrations. And it did whoosh me back to... This is turning into a confessions of naughty things I did as a kid. I'm going to share 2 confessions with you now. So, where I went to my primary school... And I'll explain this also for anyone outside the UK who doesn't know our school system. We basically have primary school and secondary school. And tertiary education is usually where you do your A-levels. That's before university. So at primary school, you have infants and then juniors. And then your secondary school, that's your senior school. So my primary school was a combined infants and juniors. So infants go from 4 years old to 7, and juniors are 7 to 11. And then at 11, you go from 11 to 16, you go to senior school, high school, secondary school, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, my primary school was combined infants and juniors. Infants on the ground floor, juniors on the first floor. Wonderful, wonderful school. There was definitely a leaning in the school towards the arts. Oh, and sport to some degree. So, yes, of course, all the normal academic things you'd do at school. But every kid was encouraged to find their creative outlet. So, for example, we had a theatre. I loved the theatre. Proper old-fashioned theatre with thick velvet curtains which swooshed out. So, performance in that way. Music, a lot of music. And this was a school where this wasn't just playing the recorder, but this was playing proper music. And not playing Match of the Day on your recorder. Proper classical music. So, for example, after I'd learnt to play the recorder, I was then put onto the tenor recorder, which is the really long one, because I even, as a kid, had a big handspan. So chamber music is what we played on the recorders. Writing was huge at my junior school. And every year they produced, primary school, because it included infants and juniors. Every year a book was produced of the best writing of all the students. And if you got a piece in... It was just called creative writing. That was what the book was called each year. If you got a piece in there, it's like, ooh. So I started school when I was 4. I finished when I was 10 because my birthday is later in the year. So in my 7 years at school, I think I was in our creative writing journal twice. Yay! I think my sister was in it about 4 times. But yeah, so this was really, really encouraged in the kids. This, find what is your creative thing. Art was huge. Needlework, but not just, learning how to, make an apron, isn't what everyone does, but getting really creative with it. Pottery, creative pottery. I still have, it's tucked away somewhere. I still got my first ever piece of pottery from infant school. Our headmaster also insisted that everyone in their final year, before he went to big school, so we'd be 10 years old by then, every child had to study italics, as in calligraphy, and every kid got one-on-one time with our headmaster to practice our italic handwriting. That kind of beauty in not just the beauty of the story you're writing, and hopefully you'll get it in the school book, but the beauty of your hand as you're writing it. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I so appreciate that. That's, I don't know if it was just a happy accident, but that was the school I got to go to, because it allowed me to, it just allowed me to blossom in all sorts of ways. Now, at our school, and actually, just to say as well, the local brass band, the bandmaster, he was our school caretaker. So we had band practice at my school as well, after school. School's shut, and we're in the big theatre hall. That's where we have band practice. That comes into play in a minute. But yes, so within the school we had a little library, tiny little library, maybe about the size of my room here. And now that I'm now starting to get chilly, I'm going to just put that over my knees. So we had a little tiny library at school, but then up the road, oh gosh, maybe, how far away was it? Half a mile, no more, quarter of a mile, half a mile, was the old town library. We got a new library later on, which was really big, and it was in the centre of town. But this is the old library. Sweet little place. And once a week, every class within the school, they got to go to the library for, I don't know how long we were there, maybe an hour. So the whole class would be marched up School Lane, get to the library, we'd have an hour there, select the books we would like, and the following week, take them back. Wonderful, because obviously the school's own library had some lovely books, but the little town library had a bigger selection. Now, when we used to go up to that library, coming back to the Edward Ardisoni now, I used to do a thing that I used to hate my customers doing at the bookshop, of hiding a book. At some point I discovered this beautiful little book. I think it was actually it was a really soft leather bound book, but it was really it had a bit of bend to it. It wasn't hard leather, really soft. And inside it was what we call Bible paper. So it's incredibly thin, fine paper, the kind of paper that makes that tissue paper noise that as you turn the pages, where the ink almost, the print, shall I say, the paper is so fine, you can feel the print on the page. This little tiny, teeny tiny blue leather, and it had a silk page marker in it. Then these gorgeous, fine, thin Bible paper pages. And it was illustrated by Edward Ardisoni. It was a book called Nurse Matilda. I didn't care about the story. I didn't care. So every week we'd go to the library. I'd take this book off the shelf, tuck myself in a corner somewhere, and I just used to glory in the beauty of this little object, this soft leather cover, the silk, the ribbon, I just run it between my fingers, the sound as the pages turned, and the gorgeous pictures in it. Just, I loved it. I wanted that book to be mine. Now, I was a good child. I would never have dreamed of stealing it. Oh no. But as far as I was concerned, it was my book. It wasn't for anyone else. So every week after we had our little session in the town library, I hid the book down the back of some shelves. I hid it every week. And then every week we'd go back to the library. We'd get to the end of the session and the teacher would say, "Is there anything you want to take out?" I'd say, no, I'm happy to just be here and browse. That went on for years. That little book was mine. And then as an adult, God, I'm kicking myself. So obviously I then worked in the book trade myself, in second hand, out of print, rare. So for years part-time, but then also for 9 years, that was my full-time work. And I handled a lot of books in that time. And I always wondered, will this book... Now, at the time, I didn't know the book was called Nurse Matilda, because when I was a kid, I didn't know what it was called. So as an adult later on, when I thought I'd love to see that book again, I didn't know where to even start, because I didn't know it's called Nurse Matilda. I didn't know it was Edward Ardisoni. I just wanted... Anyway, years and years and years and years later, as a book dealer, it came in one day. I had it in my hand. And I sold it. I sold it to someone. Oh, I think, you know what, just for the loveliness of it and the memory, I think if I ever did find it again, I'd probably buy it for myself, just enjoy it for a little while. Get rid of it again eventually, but just enjoy it again. So yeah, I was a bit naughty. For years, I kept a book hidden just so that it could be mine and no one else's. Do you know, it suddenly occurs to me, after I went to senior school, which was in a completely different part of town, I wonder if they ever found that book. Oops. But also, my naughtiness in terms of libraries didn't stop there. No, my naughtiness definitely didn't stop there. So we had a little library at school, as I mentioned. Like I said, only maybe about the size of this room. Now, what a wonderful little school I went to. The library was open during lesson times, but it was closed during break times. There was no one to supervise at break times, but during lessons, it meant that if you were stuck on something and said to the teacher, "I don't understand," we were encouraged to go off to the library, find a book, bring it back to class, no dilly-dallying, and try to find that answer for ourselves in a book. It's just great. I mean, it's that sort of instilling that sort of independence in kids as well, of don't just expect to have the answers given to you. Go and work for the answer. Go and find that answer for yourself. Loved it. Anyway, but like I said, break times, the library was closed. So the morning and afternoon breaks and lunchtime. Now, as you also all know, I fiercely hate winter. I hate being cold, and I really don't like being damp either. I don't mind being damp, you know, when I'm in the garden, as long as it's not too cold and I'm moving. But as a kid, I hated the misery of the playground during winter. Oh. So, sometimes I used to sneak into the library, spend my lunchtime, have my school lunch, of course, nom nom nom, oh, lovely, 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 oh no, beetroot poisoning, get it off my plate. But yeah, so I'd have my lunch, and then afterwards we were all shooed outside, and I used to sneak into the library, because there was a secret door. Shh. You know, I was never found out the whole time I was there. I wonder if other kids have ever done it as well. They didn't when I was there. Anyway, the thing was, from the big dining hall, which was also became the theatre, and put the chairs up, that's our theatre. That's where we had our lunch. And our caretaker, so remember I was saying the caretaker was also the town bandmaster, the brass band. Actually, we were a silver band, but never mind. So the caretaker's room kind of went off there, off the hall. Otherwise, you go to the top of the hall, the exit at the top of the hall, and that would take you to the library, closed. Now, in the caretaker's room, it's going to be hard to describe now, but you'd go into the room and it's long, thin, and then it suddenly one side goes deep, opens out. This side stays the same, is a deeper side, and it carries on to the back. So from the door, from the dining hall, if you looked in, what you would see all down the long straight side, loads of shelves, and that's where all our brass instruments were stored. So if we weren't taking our instrument home, we could leave it at school and it would be locked up there. So if you imagine me, I started when I was 5, little 5-year-old with a euphonium. I didn't take it home very much because, crikey, little me. Anyway, so there's a long shelving system, and it had all our instruments on, music stands, there were drawers of all the sheet music. At the far end, you could see sort of the run of sinks, high sinks and low sinks. And obviously that's where he would, clean out the mops and slush the mop bucket water out, etc., etc. And then sort of behind and to the side, in that tuck away bit, brooms and all sorts of paraphernalia that a caretaker needs to not only be cleaning up after all of us kids, but repairs around the school, all that. Now, because I was a member of the band, it wouldn't be considered at all unusual to see me disappear into that room at lunchtime. I might be going to grab my instrument. It might be that I'm going to go and look at some sheet music, grab something. I might actually just be looking for our caretaker, bandmaster. I might be going off to see him to ask him a question about band practice. There could be any number of reasons why I would be going into the caretaker's room. I probably wouldn't even be questioned about that, but if I was, there's always a reason. Now here's the really exciting bit. Because I didn't know this at first. I hadn't put 2 and 2 together. So after a while, I'd be in and out of our caretaker's room because of my brass instrument, silver instrument. I discovered in that bit that's tucked back, it looked like a little miniature door. I kid you not. This isn't Narnia. It looked like a little miniature door. It sort of had, a frame around it, and there was a bit of a lip at the bottom. So it wasn't like a door, there was a lip. It was a fire escape. Guess where that little door went? Yes, it went into the library, for goodness sakes. It went straight into our little library. Now the door to leave the library, the one that if you're on the corridor side you couldn't open because it's got a Yale lock, a Yale key. But of course on the inside you can open a Yale lock, slip out unnoticed, quickly shut the door behind you, no one bat an eyelid. So I don't know when I discovered it, maybe when I was about 6. So yeah, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So for maybe 4 or 5 years, I spent loads of my lunchtime break times not outside in the howling rain and wind and freezing cold, but hiding under a table in the library, just browsing and reading books, accessed via the caretaker's room. You know what, if you ever see a little door, even if it's not quite, that's not a door because there's that lip at the bottom, you think, what's that? What is that? Open it, jolly well open it and have a look, see where it goes, because it might just go to a library. I mean, how magical, magical. I've told a couple of friends about that over the years. I don't think I even told my sister. But yeah, generally that has been a secret I've kept all my life. Naughty Vivi. But yeah, you can't keep a book reader away from books, can you? Right, I'm expecting my door to buzz in a minute. I'm expecting a parcel. Now, back into the random basket of chat, and then I think I might have to wrap up soon. I was expecting a delivery just before Christmas. This is a repeat of that delivery. I'm getting my new stock of vitamins. And just before, it was just before Christmas, maybe the 18th or 19th of December, around then. The company I use, they do really good tracking. Well, should I say the people I buy from, the couriers they use, they do really good tracking. It's DPD. So you get given a 1 hour time slot, but you can go onto the tracking and it's like a little emoticon of a little van, and it's getting nearer and nearer. It's like, oh, it's getting nearer and nearer. And what I loved with that delivery just before Christmas, I went to look at the tracking because I think they'd given me a time slot of 5 till 6 in the afternoon or whatever. And it was, I don't know, it must have been about 4:30. And I thought, oh, I wonder, because sometimes you're right at the beginning of the hour. Anyway, so I went onto the tracking to look, and they changed the icon from a van to a sleigh. It's like, your vitamins are coming on a sleigh. I thought that was really, really cute. Just little, I like it when companies do little touches like that. It just makes things a bit more human, doesn't it? I mean, fundamentally, all I want is, I want it to turn up on time and to not have any issues with my delivery, like, oh, we turned up and you weren't in. Yes, I was in. Fundamentally, we want good value in the goods and good value in terms of customer service. But outside of that, yeah, I love it when companies do just little things like that to make them more human, and makes me feel more human. Anyway, I think, bearing that I'm just looking at the clock again, this is the first minute of my 1 hour time slot. So I'm going to wrap up. There's always, yeah, I've still got some little bits of scribbles of writing, but they can go back into the basket of random chat for the next time. All right, lovelies, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I've really enjoyed having my memories, and I hope in sharing them that sometimes it actually prompts you to have some of your memories, the good stuff, good memories. Being a kid and seeing a snake wriggling out of its skin. Wow, what a lucky little girl I was that my grandparents adopted Dorset as their home. Fantastic. All right, lovelies, I'm about to wax lyrical again. Stop. I'll see you all again really soon, I hope. But until then, look after yourselves, stay cosy. And you know what? If you're having a little half hour off from your day, just have a little wallow in your really happy, gorgeous memories. All right, until the next one, cheerio.